What's up guys, GT here, and this is the Artist AMS6 Headless 6-string multi-scale guitar. Enjoy. Well, now that you've heard how it sounds, let's get a few obvious things out of the way. First of all, this is by no means a paid promotional video. No money has exchanged between me and Artist Guitars, and I bought this guitar out of my own blood and sweat and money. So whatever you hear on this video is going to be 100% my thoughts. Artist Guitars have no say in whatever I am going to cover about this guitar. Second of all, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Artist Guitars for making such affordable and inexpensive guitars possible for us guitar players. Now, it's 2025, right? I never thought that I would be able to buy a $300 headless 6-string multi-scale fan fret guitar, right? That just seems a dream come true for a guitar player like me, who obviously doesn't have all the money in the world to go around buying expensive guitars like Strandbergs. But yeah, being able to buy an affordable guitar in 2025 and honestly being quite happy about it, I'll cover more of that in detail, I think is a great job done by Artist Guitars. So we'll give credit where it's due. Great job. Thank you, Artist Guitars, for making such affordable guitars. Also, third thing, let's talk about a very important thing while buying guitars: expectations. Now, expectations is all directly kind of proportional to the kind of money you're spending, right? So, for example, if you're buying a $3,000 premium signature series guitar from a guitar company, which is a very big brand, you would have your expectations. The sky is the limit, right? You would expect everything to be picture perfect. You would want all the bells and whistles, and you would want nothing to be actually lacking anywhere or nothing to be faulty for that matter, right? But at the same, and then there's nothing wrong with that, right? But when you buy a $300 guitar, my recommendation to you is set your expectations really, really low. Now, at such a low price point, you have to understand that it's quite possible that the company has to make certain compromises and cut corners in terms of certain areas of the guitar, like build quality or the electronics or certain aspects of the guitar. And you want to set your expectations rightly so that when you get a guitar, you know that there are going to be some issues with it. There might be a few things lacking with it. And that way, whatever good comes out of the guitar, you're not going to be disappointed and you're going to be very happy about it. So if you're thinking about buying this guitar, you should know everything and every possible detail that can possibly go with this guitar when you buy it, so that when you're buying it, you know what you're getting into. So in this video, I'm going to cover every single detail about the guitar, right from packaging to delivery to every single part of the guitar. And obviously we're going to plug in the guitar and hear how it sounds as well. So if you're that guy who's going to jump into the comments and say, "Oh my god, this is such a long video, 30 minutes of yapping and no tones," don't be that guy. Use the timestamps below and chapters from YouTube to jump around the video and look at the sections you like. But if you're planning to buy this guitar, my recommendation is stick around for the whole video so that you understand my perspective about some of the things, and that might convince you in buying or not buying this guitar. At the end, it's a go, no-go situation, right? Either you spend your money or you don't. However, Artist Guitars do offer, I think, a 100-day return window, free, of course. So if you're not liking the guitar or the guitar is a lemon by any means whatsoever, you can always return it. Mine is staying. I found some really good things about this, and that's the reason I'm making this detailed video for you guys to understand. All right, let's talk first things first. Let's talk about packaging and delivery. This guitar was bought online. I've had it for around 3-4 weeks now. It was delivered in 4 or 5 days locally here in Australia. I believe it came from New South Wales, Sydney. It was just a 4-day delivery window, and it came in a standard box at $300. You do not get a hard case with this. The guitar originally is priced at $499, but there's a sale going on at Artist Guitars right now. You can buy this for $300. That does not include a hard case. It comes in a standard box, and I did shoot an unboxing video. I'll put it up here right now so that you can see. Standard cardboard box and standard packaging material inside. There's thermocol and other materials that you would usually see in a guitar packaging when you buy an inexpensive guitar like this. Nothing went wrong in shipping. There were no dings or any bumps on the guitar when I got it. It was absolutely perfect, and that's a very good thing. When you see a guitar box come to you in one piece, that's a really good relief to have. When you open it up, you know your guitar is going to be safe inside. The guitar was not in tune by default. I did see another note in here on the fretboard, I believe, that it was opened again for a second QC, which is always good. There's a second pair of eyes looking at it before you get it, so that there's a second chance of finding out any faults in the guitar. Which is a good thing. It was not in tune, however. I am not too fussy about that. You can easily tune up a guitar if you know how to. And the neck was pretty well straight, well set up. The action was fairly low, not fairly high. It was very, very playable once you tune the guitar. Full gloss finish, nice and shiny, and there were no marks or any scratches or any dings on the guitar anywhere on the body or on the fretboard. I was really, really happy to see that. The packaging does include a cable from Artist Guitars, which is a nice touch. It does include a couple of Allen keys, which I feel is a must with every guitar being shipped. So that's a good touch from Artist Guitars. They did include a couple of guitar picks as well, which is also a nice touch. But one thing I could not find is the user manual. Now, it's 2025, even a frog has access to internet these days, but for some reason, if you're living under a rock and you don't have internet access, that could be an issue, especially because this is a headless guitar. You need to know how to be able to change the strings, which I did not know. This is my first headless guitar. I'm used to the usual, tuning knobs, but I had to Google up the manual, which was not a big issue at all. I found it in one search, and I was easily able to understand how to change the strings. So that's something that Artist Guitars can probably work on. Well, that's pretty much for the packaging. What I'm going to do next is give you a in-depth detailed breakdown of each of the single part of the guitar. We'll talk about the nut, we'll talk about the bridge, we'll talk about the fretboard, body, and obviously later we'll plug in the guitar and hear some sounds, and we'll talk about the pickups as well. But as I said, this is going to be a full in-depth breakdown of the guitar. We'll jump to an overhead shot and we'll talk about each thing in more detail. So stick around till the end. Alright, so here's the guitar. I'm going to talk about each piece in detail. Hopefully the grain of my table isn't interfering too much with the grain of the guitar. I'm sure you can see the basic shape of the guitar, but hopefully that's okay. Let's first talk about the head or the headless part, right? I'm going to zoom in there so that we can talk about it. Let's move the guitar a bit. Alright, so hopefully you can see the headless part of this guitar more clearly. What we're going to talk about is this system over here, which I feel has a few problems which you should be aware of when you're buying this guitar. Now, usually a guitar would have a head over here with 6 tuners or 7 or whatever number of strings you've got, but this one doesn't. It's called a headless guitar for a reason. What we have instead are these 12 screws, 2 for each string, to be tightened up to hold the string in place or to create a locking mechanism as such. Obviously, there's got to be some way for a string to be tightened up at both ends. That's how a guitar functions. Changing strings on this guitar is definitely a challenging task. I wouldn't call it a nightmare, but it's definitely a challenging task because when you open these nuts up to loosen the strings, you need to put in the new string into a small hole over there, which is really, really difficult, especially for the high E, the B and the G strings, because the hole is so small. It's really hard for you to put the string in, which makes it quite challenging. Also, the manual says that you should not be loosening these screws all the way out. That can create an issue, as there might be some bearings inside it which might fall out, and then you will have basically a lemon. So you don't want to do that. Instead, you have to loosen them up to a specific amount so that the strings become free, and then you can put the strings in. It does get easier for the thicker strings because the hole is bigger and it's slightly easier to get in. That's what she said. But yeah, apart from that, I think this system is pretty decent the way it works. It does hold the strings in place and it does do its job. On the back side of it, it's a pretty chunky piece over here. Let me try and show you guys over here. And I think this is pretty standard with headless guitars. That's the chunky piece I'm talking about. It doesn't affect the playing or the accessibility of the frets in any way. That's pretty standard, I believe. Next piece we want to talk about is the nut. The nut is made out of N/A material. I don't know what material they've used for the nut. It doesn't specify on their websites, but I'm guessing it's more of a plastic nut. It's obviously not going to be a bone nut in there. But they do have a 0th fret in here, which is, I feel, is a good thing for this guitar, because in terms of action, it does affect the action to be more consistent. And I find this helps in terms of tuning stability in a way, because it's not directly going into the nut. I could be wrong, I could be talking absolute gibberish, I don't know, but I think the 0th fret in this guitar helps. I don't have any other guitar with 0th fret, but this one I feel is a good combination. The nut doesn't really matter to me that much. Yeah, so that's pretty much the head and headless and the nut. All right, so let's talk about the neck next. The neck is made up of Canadian maple, and it's pretty smooth and it's got a nice grain over here. I really like it. It's not a gloss finish, it's a smooth satin sort of a finish, and it's not sweaty and it's not sticky by any means. And while playing, I didn't find any issues moving up and down on the fretboard, and it's pretty smooth to hold in the hand. It's not a chunky fretboard like a baseball bat, but it's not too thin as well. Really comfortable, I would say. And as I said, I want to give credit where it's due. This is a well shaped, C-shaped neck, and I don't have any issues with it whatsoever. It's pretty smooth to move up and down in, and I don't have any complaints whatsoever. It's a bolt-on system. We'll come to that when we talk about the body, but you can tell it's a bolt-on system. Upward access is also pretty good and pretty easy. Let's talk about the fretboard. The fretboard is made out of teak wood as specified on the website. I have no clue what it is, but it looks more like an ebony or a rosewood sort of a finish. 14-inch approximately neck radius. The neck looks pretty smooth, no fret inlays, so I do tend to get lost sometimes what I'm playing which fret on, because I'm used to the fret inlays, but it gives a very neat look, as you can tell. And you've got the dots on the top here, which I probably is pretty obvious to show in the video. It's a fan fret multi-scale guitar, but the fan is not too fanny, if that's a word. It's pretty comfortable to play even in the lower frets in terms of doing your bar chords and etc. It doesn't bother me at all, and I don't feel confused at all in terms of the fan frets. It's really good. I don't play multi-scale stuffs, but in the future, if I do, this might come handy. And for a $300 guitar, again, for an inexpensive guitar, this is more than what you can ask for. The frets are 25% nickel. They are not stainless steel frets, so you know what you're buying. They are not super smooth, so when you bend up, you do feel the string kind of scraping on the frets, but I was expecting that. I was expecting more problems, to be honest with you. There's little to no fret buzz. All the frets are fairly leveled. I don't know if it's my guitar in this case, but I was amazingly surprised that the frets did not have any issues whatsoever with it. No fret noise, no fret buzz, no uneven frets. Neck was pretty straight when I got it, and I didn't have any issues whatsoever playing it out of the box. You know, I didn't have to hammer down anything. I didn't have to file anything down. Everything worked out of the box as expected. Pardon the lighting, the sun is going up and down here, but yeah, due to the clouds, but it is what it is. The other thing I want to talk about is that the frets are medium jumbo. They're not super thick, not super fat, not super high, whatever word you want to call it. They are pretty well balanced, not super thin as well, so you do feel the chunkiness in your fingers when you play it, and I like it that way. There is also a hole over here which I can try to show you later, which is for doing the relief on the guitar. There's a truss rod inside it, of course, which you can adjust using an Allen key provided with the guitar, and you can do it from here. Let's make a shift to the body of the guitar now. All right, the body is claimed to be mahogany. I don't know what mahogany it is. It doesn't say anything about what kind of mahogany it is. It is a mahogany body. The shape is of a Strandberg. This is a Strandberg knockoff if you haven't made it out so far. I bought this because, hey, I wanted to at least look like Pliny, if not play like him. Now, the shape is pretty comfortable, sits well in your lap. In terms of ergonomics, it's a well-balanced guitar. It's not too heavy, it's fairly light, which is a pleasant surprise again. I was expecting it to be very heavy and very chunky, but it's not. It's fairly light. There is a contour over here, I'm sure you can make it out in the lighting, that is made for your arm to rest on. The body is a gloss finish, natural wood finish, but a gloss finish, not a matte finish. We all love matte finishes, but in the long run, they are bound to get, pick scratches and, nail marks and dings here and there. I like this. It's shiny, it's good, and it's, not prone to any pick marks. Two pickups, no rocket science there. These are humbuckers. We'll talk about this in a bit, but yeah, on the back, you have some interesting things I want to cover here in the back as well. Obviously, you've got your electronics cavity over here. You've got the 4 screws for the bolt-on neck. And then you've got this interesting placement of the input jack. Now, usually input jacks are at the lower end of the guitar. I think Pliny's guitar has it over here, if I'm correct. Strandbergs usually have it over here. This guitar has it on the top, which is quite interesting, and it works out pretty well in my opinion, because your wire is going up and going inside. It's not going to come in your way, and you're not going to accidentally yank it out by any means while putting in your strap. So it's good from that perspective. You can put it through your strap here, through the holder, the strap holder here, and go into the input jack. Only thing I want to point out is if you have an L-shaped jack, which most of us do as guitar players, I have one. It might be possible, and I haven't tried this, don't quote me on it, that the L of the jack might hit your body a bit when you're standing and playing it, which is not too big a deal, but yeah, I just want to call it out just to let you guys know. Flipping it back up, there is a weird cavity over here. I don't know what this cavity is for, but it is there. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I am not too sure why it is there, as I said, but it doesn't bother me. I'm sure it doesn't bother you, but just calling it out that there's a cavity over here. Right. All right. Coming over to the pickups. These are artist signature pickups, artist signature bullbuckers, I believe, 2 humbucker setup. We'll hear sounds and talk about more of, about the pickups when we connect the guitar and hear some sounds, but no rocket science here. These are 2 humbuckers. And there is a volume control and a tone control and a 3-way selector to go to the neck or both, or go to the bridge. There is no coil tap system in here, no push-pull, fundas in here, just simple, straightforward rock and roll. The knobs are fairly solid. Again, giving credit where it's due. These are well made. They have a nice firm grip around them, and they feel fairly smooth and fairly responsive as well. And also they are fairly tight to turn around, so you don't accidentally hit them like in Fenders and turn up the volume by mistake while playing. The placement is pretty good, so you can use your pinky to, or you can just hit it to turn your pickup position, which is pretty good. It's well placed, the volume's well placed, you can reach it easily while playing. The tone is the tone control, it does its job really well. So that's the pickups and the body part. Now let's talk about the bridge. Alright, so hopefully you can see the bridge system in there. Now the bridge in this guitar is, if you haven't guessed it, the most complicated system and the most complicated part on a headless guitar. I'm guessing it's true for Strandbergs as well. they might have done it better, but obviously this being an inexpensive guitar, there are problems that I want to talk about in this bridge. First and foremost, let me explain the different things, the moving parts in this particular system. You've got six, what do you call them? Tuners for 6 strings. That's pretty obvious. You've got your tuning mechanism. This is basically sort of a tuning head, you can call it, which you can turn, tighten or loosen to change the tension of your strings. It's there for each string. There is an intonation system in place. You've got the screw over there. I hope you can see it in the video, but you can move this whole tuning piece backwards or forwards to change the intonation of your guitar. You've got these saddles over here, which are also pretty standard in most guitars, and the string kind of sits into that slot over there, which holds the string in the other end. The other end is held by the locking nuts, which I talked about earlier. So what are the basic problems that I faced? Obviously, changing strings was definitely a big challenge for me, because getting that ball to kind of fit in there and be there sometimes can be challenging, especially if your tuning head is too loose, because the moment you loosen them, this moves forward. I'll try and do it for one string and show you. So if you basically loosen this up, it moves forward, and if you tighten it up, it moves backward, as you can see. So basically that's one thing that is there that can cause an issue for you. The saddles, if you lower them too much, then basically what will happen is that you will start getting a bit of a kind of a raking noise when you try to bend the strings, and they will start kind of raking and it will not sound good. So you'll start getting this weird vibration in the bend when you try to do it acoustically. I don't know when you plug it in, but to me that's something that I can't live with. So I had to raise the saddles up to kind of make them tight, so that they don't move at all with the string bending up and down. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The most problematic system is the intonation part. As you can tell, the screw to do the intonation is underneath the string, and to loosen that up, you have to loosen your string. But the moment you loosen your string, it might just pop out from the head here, and then you have to do it all over again, which is definitely a big problem. Also, there is a limit to how much you can tighten this or loosen it. So it's not like a normal head where you can just keep spinning it or keep loosening it and the string keeps loosening or tightening. There's no limit, but these ones have a limit. So if you tighten them too much, you will end up in a spot where you can't tighten them more. So if your string is too slacky and it has a bit of slack in it, you won't be able to tighten it up enough, because your tuning head will stop after a while. So you have to keep that in mind in terms of string length. So if you change your intonation and move this backward and forward, your string length will change. And obviously, since you chopped off the strings at the nut over there, you will run out of string length if you are increasing the string length. So I hope that makes sense. So my advice to you is that do not chop off the strings at the other end of the guitar after you plug them in. I in fact kept them for a day or two. I changed the strings on this guitar, by the way. These are Ernie ball regular slinkies. This comes with D'Addario strings, but for some reason I had tuning stability issues with those. I swapped over to Ernie balls. I've always been with Ernie balls. I'm not saying they're better, but they seem to be working better for me in terms of tuning stability. I find that this guitar is prone to a bit of tuning stability issues as well. Just because it's $300 guitar, guys, there are going to be some problems, so you have to live with them. It's not like it's going to turn from B to A flat or something, or go down to A when you do a bend. It's not like that, but there will be a few cents that might drop when you do higher bends, such as a note and a half bend. Normal bends are pretty good. I don't see a problem with them. But when you do larger bends, there is a tendency for specifically the E, B, and G strings to kind of fall a few cents in tuning, and you can tighten them up to bring it back to pitch again. It's not a big deal breaker for me, but in the future, you might want to consider, changing to a more advanced bridge system. I don't know if companies actually make that. To replace this, you've got a good body, you've got a good fretboard, you can upgrade your pickups as well if you want to. But given that, you can change this and you can have a fantastic guitar to yourself. This is by no means a not playable guitar. It's a very playable guitar, I feel, and it does the job really well for what it's worth, the money you're spending. But yeah, if I were to upgrade something, I would definitely upgrade the tuning system over here to a far better tuning system. If somebody creates those, please let me know in the comments if you know any firms that make that. I would love to explore that option. Obviously, pickups we'll talk about when I plug the guitar in. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and plug the guitar in and let's hear how these pickups sounds. Phew, that was a long review video, wasn't it? Hope you guys enjoyed the journey of me describing the guitar to you. Hope you watched the whole thing, and I really appreciate it if you do. Now it's your time to tune into the conversation. Step down into the comment section and let me know, what do you guys think about the guitar? What are your thoughts? Are you thinking about buying one like this? And while you're down there, make sure you give that like button a smash so that you let me know that I am doing a good job in making these videos for you guys. I don't ask much in return, so if you want to subscribe to the channel, that would be really appreciated. And also let me know, what is the most affordable guitar, most inexpensive guitar that you've ever played? What were your thoughts about it? What were the things lacking? What would you see if you have this guitar? What would you feel that artist guitars should improve in their manufacturing process? I'm sure I'm going to try my best so that artist guitars see this video and understand a perspective of a guitar player as to what all things they might think could be improved in the guitar. But as I said, at $300 price point, you're getting a headless guitar, which is a very playable guitar. I'm quite happy with this. This one's not going back. This one's staying with me. I will be playing this regularly and you might see it more on the channel. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and thank you so much for joining me in this journey. Make sure you stay subscribed and stay safe. Keep rocking, guys. I'll see you soon in the next one. Cheers. Bye.